The Chinese government is watching how the West has dealt with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and they may learn lessons that could affect their decision on annexing Taiwan. After economic sanctions didn't work, Putin sent his first 150,000 troops into Ukraine on February 24. Taiwan became a trending topic as observers feared Xi Jinping would make good on his promise to annex the democratic island. So what's going on behind this? Well, stick around to find out. Hello everyone, welcome to the War Zone. If you don't want to miss out on any new political news, conflicts, battles, or anything else related to politics, then subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button so that you will always be notified. When Putin's forces failed to achieve their blitzkrieg goals and the war entered its second week, the thinking changed. Kyiv's leaders stayed. Its armed forces fought back and ordinary Ukrainians joined the resistance. China's watchers began to worry as NATO galvanized and the West's unprecedented sanctions on Russia's economy took effect. Joseph Wu, Taiwan's foreign minister, called the Ukrainian resistance an inspiration. Taiwan joined several Asian governments in restricting exports to Russia this week, landing on Moscow's list of unfriendly countries. As Russian forces advance toward Ukraine's capital, they may eventually attain their military objectives even though the country's political goals, regime change, and public submission remain out of reach. However, the events of the past few days have already made China more reluctant to invade Taiwan. Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines said, "Our assessment is that it will reinforce China's perception both of the seriousness with which we would treat an infringement on Taiwan and the unity between Europe and the US in enacting sanctions." She added, "Not just that unity, but the impact of those sanctions, I think, are both things that are critical to their calculus and something that will be interesting for us to see how they learn those lessons." As part of her opening remarks, Haines said China, an unparalleled priority, would prefer coerced unification that avoids armed conflict. She said the Chinese government tries to isolate Taiwan and undermine its elected leaders for years. Meanwhile, Beijing's preparing to use military force if it needs to. CIA Director William Burns replied to a similar question by saying he doesn't underestimate President Xi and the Chinese leadership's determination concerning Taiwan. However, Burns said Beijing has been unsettled by the difficulties the Russians have faced in Ukraine. He said, "Everything from the strength of the Western reaction to the way in which Ukrainians have fiercely resisted. I think there's an impact on the Chinese calculus with regard to Taiwan." Recently, a Chinese military plane crashed in the South China Sea, the Taiwanese intelligence agency said, explaining China's decision to close a part of the Gulf of Tonkin near Hainan Island. National Security Bureau Director Chen Ming-tong said the crash prompted the PLA to set up a navigation exclusion zone in the surrounding waters to assist with search and rescue operations and also carry out military training. At a time when the world is focused on the war in Ukraine, he warns that China is using the opportunity to test the limits of the US and its allies in the South China Sea. On March 4, the Hainan Maritime Safety Administration issued a navigation warning banning ships from entering the Gulf of Tonkin, which was closed for military exercises until March 15. The area is part of Vietnam's exclusive economic zone, and the Vietnamese Foreign Ministry protested, asking China to respect its EEZ and continental shelf. China's foreign ministry replied, "It is reasonable, legal, and irreproachable for China to conduct military exercises." Vietnam and China agreed to demarcate their share of the Gulf of Tonkin in 2000, but their talks on the mouth of the Gulf are stalled. The Chinese haven't acknowledged any plane crashes recently and keep invading Taiwan's air defense zone. At the annual session of the National People's Congress in Beijing, a Chinese military spokesperson said the PLA would not tolerate Taiwanese independence. But apart from this, Putin's aggressive brinkmanship toward Ukraine has profound implications for another territory that faces military intimidation from an authoritarian neighbor, Taiwan. President Xi Jinping's government has declared itself a spectator to the Ukrainian crisis in a diplomatic wolf howl instead of a diplomatic lambaste over the presence of some 100,000 Russian troops massed along Ukraine's borders. This bland language hides an intense self-interest in both the degree to which Putin will assert his claims and the degree of international resolve to stop him. And similar to Russia's intentions toward Ukraine, the Chinese government views Taiwan's claims as parallel to those of Russia. Russian confrontation with Ukraine and the international response has been an invaluable lesson to the ruling Chinese Communist Party about the cost-benefit of military action to reclaim Taiwan in the future. Danny Russell, Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs under President Barack Obama, told China Watcher, "Putin and Xi have something in common. They want to discredit American security guarantees and undermine faith in U.S. resolve and capability. China's ability to bully its neighbors increases with their doubt that America will rescue them. He added, when Putin invades and refuses to leave Ukraine, the failure of the US to deter him will be a huge boost to Beijing's campaign to convince people on Taiwan and elsewhere in Asia that resistance is futile since the US security pledge is no longer credible. Biden's administration is already worried about China's aggressive behavior in Taiwan. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Chinese aircraft were intensifying incursions into Taiwan's airspace. Taiwan recorded 39 such flights on Sunday alone, the most since October. During his Reagan National Defense Forum speech last month, Austin said, "It looks a lot like them exploring their true capabilities, and sure, it looks a lot like rehearsals." According to UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, the joint exercises by Chinese, Russian, and Iranian naval units last week may have inspired her to suggest that Russia and China might cause a simultaneous military crisis, whereas former Australian PM Paul Keating called Truss's claims demented. But the White House isn't convinced by that. According to National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, a reporter once asked him about a nightmare scenario in which Russia invades Ukraine and China attacks Taiwan simultaneously. He replied that, "We will take whatever action we can to ensure that the Taiwan scenario you described will never happen." Xi, meanwhile, is rumored to have asked Putin to put off the Russian invasion of Ukraine until after the 2022 Olympics in Beijing. Zhao Lijiang, a spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, dismissed that allegation as despicable trick. Chinese people still have a negative view of Russian military aggression because of a brief, bitter border conflict with then-Soviet Union in 1969. Winston Lord, Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia and the Pacific under Bill Clinton, said, "China would not like to see Russia invading a neighboring country or any precedent it might set, given their border and history with the Russians and China's rabid insistence on sovereignty. However, China's value of any Russian aggression against Ukraine depends on the intensity and effectiveness of international opposition. This will give the Chinese government an idea of the potential consequences of a military move against Taiwan." Alicia Kizakova, head of the Asia-Pacific Unit and Prague's Institute of International Relations, said, "Beijing also took notes while observing Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. Senator Chris Murphy said, "China will watch how this invasion affects the Russian economy and army. It's no secret that the Chinese are trying to reclaim Taiwan, and seeing how the world reacts over the next several months will be very instructive." Senator Marco Rubio warned last week of a looming new dark age of global authoritarian aggression because he worried about the inadequate response by the US and its allies to a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine. Rubio said in a video he tweeted, "If Putin moves into Ukraine, a few sanctions and some international condemnation, but ultimately not pay a terrible price, it doesn't just affect Ukraine. It becomes a model for China, Iran, North Korea, and other rogue governments around the world." Chinese government rhetoric seems to support Rubio's pessimism. Xi is refusing to renounce using force against Taiwan, warning he'll take all necessary measures to subsume Taiwan and threatening to shatter any independence moves. Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said in June that China was pursuing a capability to invade and hold Taiwan within the next 6 years. The US, unlike Ukraine, has explicitly committed to resist any use of force or coercion against Taiwan. President Joe Biden said in October that the US would defend Taiwan if China attacked. Jen Psaki shot down speculation that Biden reversed a long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity on how the US would respond to Chinese aggression. However, military force is just one of the tools used by the ruling Chinese Communist Party. Anyways, what do you think about this? Alright everyone, this brings us to the end of our video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Until then, take care, and we will be back with another video.